Hello there, it's time for Volume 9 out of 13 with the collection of neon white sapphire medals. Now that we have officially have 1/3 of the total levels remaining, I expected the individual grinding process to be a lot faster and easier, and thankfully I was proven right. I also had the time to improve some levels that I covered before, simply because I don't really want to publish a video having not improved any levels. These levels are generally considered the hardest of what remains, so let's see what levels those are, starting with
Hey Red, did you see that?
This is a level I tend to forget exists, which adds to its difficulty since I didn't remember how to play the level. That didn't really matter though, since I had to make many adjustments to my previous route in order to be closer to the world record route, since I believe going for a slower but easier route would make the Sapphire really difficult. Most of those changes, and thus my time save, came in the middle section, discarding bombs earlier and getting many more purified boosts, which came naturally with practice. This was a long grind, taking about a week to get, with many PBs and DNFs that kept me willing to play despite everything the level throws at you. Looking at this run, it doesn't look like anything special, I just barely got the Sapphire, and there's a lot of time save left to get, so the chances I return to this level eventually is high.
That's how it's done.
A new route was discovered on this level, and the Sapphire time got buffed to force you to learn and play the route, which made this level much more difficult than it could have been. I tried to see what I could do when it initially came out, but it was way beyond my skill level and I dropped it. Now that time has passed, a modification has come to only use the Godspeed shots at the end instead of the Stomp and Godspeed, which didn't matter because the Godspeed shots were the real issue in completing the run. I initially tried for 4 shots, but going 3 for 4 was very difficult for me as I felt the position to aim at changed between runs, so I had to sneak in a 5th shot to make the run possible and go for an above water boost to compensate, which I didn't get this run. I also didn't get it on my first completion of the run. That run was within 0.1 seconds of the Sapphire time that wasn't it, so this level gets added to a list. Any future mentions of this part will still be kept brief, and I hope the total number of mentions will be much lower compared to what I had to go through. I know I can do much better, but coming back to this level will all come down if I'm willing to gamble on the Guardian shot again.
Because I'm the best.
I chose to do this level purely because of the Shocker dupe, which I needed to do to get the Sapphire. That involved a complete reroute, but wasn't the worst level to do once I figured out how to do everything. Killing the barnacles and shockers remained the hardest part of the level, even harder than the Shocker dupe, which surprised me because I gave myself more time to kill everything by jumping, which I thought would make that section trivial because I had completed the run without jumping. It was a pretty monotonous grind, getting both the Shocker dupe and killing every enemy, since the rest of the level was pretty easy. I could try to do it jumpless now that I have a completed run, but I would rather push that back a while, since that is going to be a really difficult task to accomplish.
Hey Red, did you see that?
This level is pretty short, but unlike with streets, this level was fun to grind out. The main time save I needed to do was get both barnacle deflects, which used to feel impossible but became somewhat doable during this grind, and get a better above water boost, which came from delaying my fireball discard a little bit more. Some of my past annoyances came back, like the first fireball shot, but none of them were too difficult or annoying enough to make me dislike the level. This run was actually one of my fastest runs, being at Vermont, which I'm proud of, and I also managed to avoid going on the list, which I was surprised about. Beyond that, the short nature of the level leaves me with not much else to say.
And that's how it's done.
I don't view this level as a difficult Sapphire to get, so when it took a while to get, along with thousands of attempts, I got very annoyed at this level. Getting the Sapphire comes down to either your raw moving skills, or your ability to hit certain tricks quickly, those being the jock skip and the left side barrel. Initially, I wanted to include both of those in my run, but after not finding much success with the jock skip, I dropped it quickly. The left side barrel trick stayed for a little longer, even getting a PB with it, but that too became too inconsistent for me even after learning about an additional trick to help get the barrel faster. Frustration turned to desperation, and I just tried to get the Sapphire without any fancy tricks, instead relying on my booping skills that I obtained by going for other Book of One Sapphires. I ended up getting the Sapphire pretty quickly once I switched back to what I knew, which left a bitter taste in my mouth as I felt the pain I experienced learning the new tricks were for nothing. The one silver lining I had was I relearned the Dempsey barrel and got it consistently, as I struggled with it before and would have really hated the level had it remained inconsistent. I didn't have a positive opinion on the level before, and that definitely remained after getting the Sapphire medal.
That's how it's done.
I don't believe I have any truly difficult Chapter 8 levels left, but that's because I enjoy this chapter. I already learned basically everything there is about this level. The real time save came from doing everything better. Switching the 2 rockets was doable, but it's somewhat hard to find the right angle to get the boost you want. I switched to 5 rockets from 4 with the ceiling boost. This was a late addition that came from thinking a 5th rocket was better used here instead of at the final ascent. The rocket after the barrels actually boosts me now, which I thought would make the grapple harder since I had some struggles with that in the past, but it was fine. The real struggle was making sure everything went correctly and no hidden time loss existed, but I had fun playing this level, and I know that I can improve on this level if I choose to play it in the future.
Let's see anyone beat that.
Like with Part 8, we are getting to the levels that are easier than any of the levels beforehand, but were still difficult enough for me to decide to play it. This level was in the mixed state of opinions coming into the level, and became a favorite again, then became mixed again as my experience wavered. All of the time saved comes from the first 2 Purify boosts, which I'm not the best at, but managed to get some of the best in this run, which explains the big PB. The rest of the level remains basically the same, so my enjoyment directly correlated to how often I was getting good Purify boosts. I ended up getting many PBs in my very short grind, the last of which got this level on the list. As of now, I am willing to come back to the level, and improving the level, knowing the Purify boost that I got, will be difficult. This is a very boring level that I neglected to play for almost 2 years because I figured that I would be going for an easy Sapphire once I finally came back. While it is possible to get the Sapphire without a self-bullet boost, the lines you need are extremely tight and somewhat hard to judge. I got very close, getting within 0.01 seconds, until I hit one of the self-bullet boosts I was going for and got it instantly. I ended up playing very safe to make sure I wouldn't die, as death was still a pretty common occurrence, and I didn't want to hit another one. I could try for a tighter run with that self-bullet boost, or even a run which gets both of them, but it would only be when I'm very bored and don't have anything else to play in the game.
It's because I'm the best.
The remaining Chapter 1 levels are around the exact same difficulty, so choosing one to play just comes down to what I'm feeling like. This level just involved getting a cleaner run of the strategy I was using, with a tiny switch at the end to get one more guaranteed bullet boost. Killing all of the barnacles can be tough, but given that there are only 6 of them, and only the first 2 are actually difficult, getting the Sapphire was pretty easy for me. This level ends up on the list, but that's because it was on the list before the grind started, although I ended up getting a couple of PBs during the grind that pushed me closer to the medal. The grind was very short, and the level was pretty easy, which leaves me with nothing else to say.
Let's see anyone beat that.
Because my philosophy on getting amethyst and sapphire medals are completely different, the amethysts I got really early on are some of the last sapphires I will get. For this level, there are a couple of things you have to look out for, and due to the simple nature of the level, you need to do really well. One is the edge grinding at the start, but you can grind that out since it's at the beginning of the level. Another is the above water boost, which is a little finicky for me since it's hard to judge both the late Godspeed discard and the late Coyote jump. And finally, there's the last Godspeed discard, which I didn't do beforehand and had to learn. It seemed to me to be a combination of jumping earlier and bonking a little on the pillar that gave any successful attempts, as the timing can vary wildly. I also got many PPs during the short grind, including a list inclusion, but overall, this level turned out to be exactly what I expected it to be. And that's part 9 done. We now have 90 Sapphire medals, which continues to be a more impressive feat as we go along. Coming up next is the big 100 Sapphire medals, which includes possibly the hardest level to get the Sapphire medal. That, along with 9 other semi-difficult levels, will be coming your way soon enough. I hope you can wait for that to come, so for now, thank you for watching.